After Pat Lawlor designed a machine that became the best-selling pin of all time, Williams asked him one question. What do you want to do next? His answer? A pin from the fifth dimension. Beyond that which is known to man. A dimension as vast as space and timeless as infinity. The middle ground between light and shadow. Between science and superstition. A pin that would lie between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. A pin not only of flippers and ramps, but of mind.
Here's your extra ball.
This is the pin of imagination. It's a pin that we call the Twilight Zone. In 1993, Williams was at the absolute peak of the industry. The company was making pinball machines that were selling tens of thousands of units. Their design talent in this era included Steve Ritchie, Pat Lawlor, George Gomez, Barry Ausler, Brian Eddy, and Dennis Norman, some of the best pinball designers in history, all working at the same company at the same time. Twilight Zone is what happens when one of those designers gets handed unlimited resources at the peak of his powers. Lawlor went to work for 16 months, an unusually long development cycle for a pinball machine in that era. He picked the Twilight Zone TV series as his theme, the Rod Serling original, which ran from 1959 to 1964. There was a licensing issue that shaped the game. The deal for the Twilight Zone name was one thing, but Rod Serling's likeness had to be licensed separately on top of that. So rather than use Serling's actual voice, the game uses an impression. It's performed by Tim Kritzrow, the same voice you know as the announcer from NBA Jam.
He's heating up!
Let me describe what Pat Lawlor put into this machine. A real 12-hour clock built right into the Playfield. It tells the actual time when the machine is sitting in attract mode. A miniature Gumball machine on the Playfield. The actual mechanism from a Gumball machine modified for pinball. It holds up to 3 balls, locks them, and dispenses them back into play. There's a ceramic ball called the Powerball. It's about 20% lighter than a steel ball. It's faster and bouncier and harder to control. The Powerball lives in the Gumball machine and cycles into play. Sinking it back into the Gumball machine kicks off a multi-ball called Powerball Mania. A mini playfield called the Powerfield. It sits in the upper left of the playfield, and you reach it by shooting the right ramp. It has no real flippers at all. Instead, there are 2 magnets buried under the lower corners, sort of an invisible set of magnet-powered flippers that grab and sling the ball. On the main playfield, there's 3 pop bumpers, 2 ramps, 4 flippers, plus the 2 magnetic flippers on the Powerfield. Drop targets and magnets in the orbit that catch the ball to set up shots. Pat Lawlor describing this game as having flippers that aren't flippers, pinballs that aren't pinballs, and a clock that's not a clock. It contained more features and patents than any pinball machine ever built up to that point. The art was done by John Youssi. Youssi is one of the most respected pinball artists in history. He did Whirlwind, he did Funhouse, he did The Addams Family, and he did Twilight Zone, 4 straight Pat Lawlor classics. For this machine, he built an entire visual universe crammed with mysterious Twilight Zone artifacts. The back box alone hides references to dozens of individual episodes. The mask from The Masks, the street sign from The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, a 1964 quarter standing on its edge for a penny for your thoughts. Every inch of this machine is letting you know you're entering the 5th dimension. For the Twilight Zone, sound designer Chris Granner did something incredibly clever. Because the TV show's theme is so short, he licensed the 1982 rock hit Twilight Zone by the Dutch band Golden Earring, an iconic track famous for the line, "When the bullet hits the bone." Granner meticulously remixed and synthesized elements of the song throughout the game's code. The driving bass line of the song follows you during normal gameplay, and when you activate modes like Clock Chaos, the machine blasts with a synth version of the song's famous chorus right through the cabinet speakers. The guitarist who wrote the track actually let Williams use the music in exchange for a free Twilight Zone pinball machine delivered right to his house. Let's look at the Playfield. This is a wide body machine, Wider than a standard pinball machine, Williams called this format SuperPin, and Twilight Zone was the very first one. In the center between the two ramps is the clock target. Hit it during the right modes, and you're scoring off the position of the clock hands. On the left is the Gumball machine. To activate it, you hit the right orbit. Lock balls in it, and eventually the Powerball cycles onto the playfield. The upper left has the Powerfield, the mini playfield where you battle the power using those invisible magnetic flippers. There's a piano player hole that starts modes, and a camera that shows you the award before it gives it to you. And in the dead center of the playfield is the door from the show's opening credits. Its outer edge is made of 14 panels. Each one is an award or a mode. Light all 14 and you reach Lost in the Zone, the wizard mode, the holy grail of this machine. Most players never see it. The code has 14 door panel modes. Each one is essentially its own mini game. 4 different multi-balls, Powerball Mania, Fast Lock, regular multi-ball, and the 6-ball wizard mode, Lost in the Zone. Pat Lawlor and his team put 16 months into this code, and hidden touches are everywhere. There's a feature called Fast Lock that plays audio clips from Pat Lawlor's previous machines, Addams Family, Funhouse, Whirlwind, and further back, like an AM radio dial scrubbing through his career. A casual player can pick up the basics in 5 minutes, then proceed to spend hundreds of hours discovering everything this machine does. Twilight Zone sold 15,235 units in 1993. It was once the #1 ranked machine on Pinside's Top 100. Today, with a wave of modern machines climbing the charts, it sits around number 17. 30 years on, this is still one of the most beloved pinball machines ever made. So that's my overview of the Twilight Zone. Now let's play a few balls and then give it a flip score. The skill shot on this game is always a soft plunge. There's different colors here, red, orange, and yellow. And you want the yellow. You want to hit the yellow without dropping into this scoop. So it rolls up and then comes back down. Yellow awards. That's 10 million points for the skill shot. You can hear the bass line of the Twilight Zone song from Golden Earring in the background. Okay. Not a lot of action on that first ball.
This is no ordinary Gumball machine.
The Gumball there. You see the Gumball cycle through. Powerball is out.
Powerball.
And it's gone.
Beyond this door is a dimension of space. The opportunity we outside the door. Get the extra ball.
So that's some gameplay on Twilight Zone. Now let's give it a flip score. 5 categories, 20 points each, 100 max. First up, shots. Pat Lawlor at his peak, the spiral, the Powerfield, the Gumball machine, the clock target. Every shot on this machine has a tie-in with the TV series. The geometry is excellent, the flow is varied, the Powerfield is a cool feature, and it gets a 19 out of 20. Code and depth, this game likely has more depth than anything that came before it. 14 door panel modes, 4 multi-balls, a Gumball machine routine, a Powerball that changes the physics of the game, a wizard mode that will take a lot of practice to reach 20 out of 20. On theme, a wide-body machine themed around a Twilight Zone of artifacts. Rod Serling callouts, references to dozens of specific episodes packed into the playfield and back box. The golden earring music, the art package, 19 out of 20. On build quality, here's where Twilight Zone gets complicated. This machine is mechanically dense. There are so many moving parts in the Twilight Zone that one of them is almost certainly going to be broken when you step up to play. Route operators in the 90s famously had headaches with this game. The clock, the gumball mechanism. If you purchase one, be prepared to tinker with it once in a while. 15 out of 20. For resale value, this machine has held its value and climbed for 3 decades. A clean player trades in the 5,000 to 8,000 range, and restored examples climb well past 10. It's one of those rare pinball machines where the long-term trend has been steadily up, 18 out of 20, for a total flip score of 91 out of 100. This is one of the greatest pinball machines ever made. More than 30 years later, very little has outdreamed Twilight Zone. Lawlor threw every idea he had at this thing, a working clock, a gumball machine, the ceramic ball, a great theme, and somehow it all landed in what could be the best pinball machine ever made. If you're thinking about buying one, know what you're getting into. It's a dense mechanical beast, and it might spend an equal amount of time being worked on as it does being played. But it's worth it because this is a machine you can play for years while exploring the Twilight Zone.